In Valorant, understanding the weapons within the game will gain you a big advantage on the competition evolving. Understanding the recoil of some of the game's most popular weapons and counteracting them with your own playstyles. Understanding how health and armor play into the most dominant loadouts within the game, which guns can one-shot you and which ones can't, which ones have the highest wall penetration and which ones have the lowest penetration, and of course, the question you all clicked on for, which one is the best weapon in the game that you should be using in all situations. My name is Fluffy and this is the most powerful weapon in Valorant. Now before we get straight into the video, if you enjoy the content, make sure to smash that subscribe button as well as check in the description towards my Twitch channel where I stream Valorant and try to answer your guys' questions as best as I can, but for now, let's jump into the video. So the first thing I would like to explain to you is that the guns in Valorant have something called weapon spread. Much like CSGO, all the guns have their own particular weapon spread that everyone can learn and master. According to the developers, approximately the first 7 shots of the weapon are more or less consistent, but after the 7 shots, there is a small amount of RNG involved. So what you are seeing now on the video is a helpful image showing the spray patterns and the control patterns of the most popular weapons within Valorant. The one on the left is the spray pattern, which is when the gun is fired without any directional influence by the player, or for short, for standing still and holding left click. On the right is the control pattern, which is the inverse of that, meaning if you want to correct the spray pattern, you will have to completely copy the control pattern. Learning and mastering the patterns of the guns you play the most is going to be the biggest part of the game, and separate the pros from the non-pros, and will make you a lot more accurate overall. But with that being said, the RNG aspect of the first 7 shots will play a massive factor. So if you don't hit an opponent with the first 7 shots of a controlled burst, I highly recommend stop firing, get back into cover and reset, whether that be reloading, repositioning, and then engage with the enemy, because the pattern has been reset and you'll have none of that RNG causing you to die or to get a kill, but not trusting that RNG factor. This is the one way to have consistent bursts within Valorant. For the CSGO players, this will be nothing new to you and you will feel really comfortable. But for those who are coming from other first-person shooters or any other games for instance, this will be a new concept for you. So I would recommend going into the shooting range and practice these spray patterns and bursting before you get into a game of Valorant. Now it's time to jump into something important that you must understand before you play a game of Valorant, and that is the health and armor system. Every single agent in Valorant have only 100 health. Yes, you heard me right, only 100 health. And if you buy small armor, your agent will have 125 health, and then if you upgrade that armor, or if you buy straight into the heavy armor, your agent will have 150 health. So with this information, you want to know what weapons can kill you even though you have the maximum health. So let's break down the most important weapons within Valorant. So the first set of weapons we're going to be covering is the snipers. There are 2 snipers, the Marshal and the Operator. Both of these snipers will one-shot you if they hit you in the head, even if you buy max armor, because both of these snipers will do 200 damage with a headshot. But the difference between these 2 snipers is the Operator, which is a one-shot kill even on the body, doing 150 damage. This is one of the most powerful weapons in Valorant, and is the only weapon that will one-shot you in the body. However, with this gun it is very cost effective, costing around 4,500 credits. That is really expensive in Valorant, considering you have to buy your abilities, buy your armor, and sometimes your abilities even stack. So sometimes that can be a real game changer, and sometimes you just don't want to waste that amount of money when you can just spend it on something like 2 Vandals or even drop a Vandal for your teammate. But this weapon can be a game changer if you can hit your shots and position well, and might be good in the long term. Now the next set of weapons are going to be the rifles. There are 4 rifles in the game, the Bulldog, the Guardian, the Phantom and the Vandal. But for this video we're going to skip over the Bulldog due to the other rifles having exceedingly higher damage and overall better stats. So the first rifle we're going to break down is the Guardian, which is a semi-automatic rifle that costs 2,700 credits. This semi-automatic rifle does 195 damage to the head with no damage drop off, and 65 damage to the body. So just like the Operator, this weapon is best used for players with pinpoint precision due to its low fire rate of 6.5. The Guardian also has medium wall penetration, which means it can shoot through wooden surface without the damage being affected. The Guardian is a beautiful weapon to use on a 1-on-1 encounter at around medium to long distance due to the weapon having no drop off deduction, and if you miss the headshot you can shoot the enemy 3 times in the body for a total of 195 damage. Even with this weapon having super high damage for only 2,700 credits, the backfire of this weapon is that it's not very good close range situations or facing multiple enemies at once, since the spray pattern of this gun is very random as well. So when you are encountering multiple enemies of 2 or 3 or more, you have to actually have really pinpoint accuracy of clicking the heads one at a time and making sure you have enough time for the gun to reset. Now the next two rifles that I'm going to put on screen are the most conflicting rifles you will see players choosing in Valorant, which are the Phantom and the Vandal, but let's break them both down so you can decide which one will suit you and your playstyle. The Phantom is one of the two automatic rifles sitting at 2,900 credits, with a lot of damage drop off and doing less damage per bullet than its counterpart the Vandal, but the Phantom makes up for it with its above average accuracy, easier to control spray pattern, and a silencer attached to the gun which makes it less audible to not reveal your position. The Phantom has a fire rate of 11 rounds a second when not aiming down sights, and a 9.9 rounds a second while ADSing or aiming down sights. This weapon is an insta-kill to the head at close ranges from 0 to 15 meters. At longer ranges, this gun does not become a one-shot headshot. Instead, at medium ranges of 15 meters to 30 meters, a headshot only does 140 damage, and at longer ranges of 30 to 50 meters, only doing 124 damage to the head. The last rifle on this list is the Vandal, the other automatic rifle, which is also sitting at 2,900 credits. Unlike the Phantom, the Vandal is unique for its high DPS or damage per second, and has the ability to kill opponents with one shot to the head from 0 to 50 meters. This weapon's fire rate is slower than its counterpart, only firing 9.25 rounds a second while not aiming down sights, and 8.32 rounds a second while aiming down the sights. Even with the Vandal having much higher DPS, the spread of this weapon is much harder to control, even with its lower fire rate. So with all this information, it sounds like the Phantom is much worse compared to the Vandal, and in terms of stats, it really is, especially if you've already got good aim or you're trying to get a precise shot at long range. But with all that being said, they both balance out equally, and have to be used in the correct way of your playstyle. Because of the Phantom having a higher fire rate and having 30 rounds in a magazine compared to the Vandal, which has 25, as long as you're in the 0 to 15 meter range, the Phantom will always be the better gun. This could also be because of the map layout, the character that you're playing, and the loadout that you have with your character. You can put yourself into a position where you're always going to be in a close range fight. With everything being said, if you have really good hand-eye coordination, or would like to get that first shot accuracy to be able to one-tap your enemies from long ranges and get the best bang out of your buck, it is the Vandal in my opinion. With the Vandal's very high DPS, even at the 50 meter mark, being able to hold really tight angles, especially with walls that can be penetrated with the Vandal, you are allowed to hold these types of angles in Valorant because there is no peeker's advantage here, so you can make sure you win that 1v1 duel. So with this, I think the Vandal is the best gun in the game when it comes to pricing and stats put together, and I think the Vandal will be the gun that everyone will be using. But this game is still in beta, so subject is to change. But with everything that has been happening in Valorant right now in terms of how I've been playing it, it does seem the guns are quite balanced so far, and I don't see the Vandal changing anytime soon. But let me know if you guys agree, if you think the Vandal is the best weapon in the game, or if you disagree, let me know down below and tell me which weapon you think is the best gun in Valorant. Anyway, hope this has helped you find your perfect weapon for you. But that's everything from me in this video, so thank you so much for watching, and go out there and start winning. Have fun.